Well, it was an interesting game against Sheffield United. I'll say that for anything. If you don't want to know what the score is, or you don't want any spoilers, don't forget to go and check out the game and then come back and listen to what I have to say about it. It was one of those games. A lot of people were saying it's a must-win game, and I think all our games are must-win games from now on. I really do. I think we need to start winning more of our games. We've got some tough teams coming up, so it's going to be a test for us. But hopefully we'll get those two new signings into the team as quickly as possible, and then we'll be able to see how it affects our long-term play. So to start off with, one of the quickest goals that to put a dampener on the day, just after 1 minute, almost with the first attack of the game. Well, I think it was the first attack of the game. Sheffield United scored, and I think we were a bit unset. We were a bit not set up properly. We weren't, thinking it was going to happen so soon. I don't know if it was a tactic they did for, to try and do it on purpose, but they certainly got the goal from it, and it's just the fact we didn't set ourselves properly. We weren't ready for such an attack at such an early start of the game. Our own fault, of course. We should have been set from the very beginning, but that's how it was. It ended up being 1-0. And at that point, I was a little bit concerned. I was thinking, well, is this going to be another end of a drubbing for us? But to our credit, we did come back into the game after that, and we were playing some really good football, I felt. We kind of put Sheffield United under the cosh a little bit, and then on 17 minutes, Eze got a goal. A lovely little goal, a lovely little sort of leap into the air goal that he got. And that made it 1-1, and it was at the end of quite a good run of play, and I thought that we were playing really quite well at that point. We had them penned in their own half for periods of time. They did try to get out, and they were trying to make it difficult for us, but we were, with Eze and Elise both on the pitch, we are a different team. There's no doubt about it. With those two on the pitch playing together, we are a different team, and we were a lot more attacking minded than we have been in recent games, and it showed, I think. But then, unfortunately, on 20 minutes, Sheffield United scored a second goal. This was a little bit unfortunate, because I think from what I could see, it sort of cannoned off of Gehi's shin, which caused it to do that kind of big loop over the top of Henderson into the back of the net. So I think that was a bit of a deflection problem in that situation. But again, we weren't getting back quick enough. We weren't picking up players well enough and picking up the ball and chasing back quick enough. So it was partly our fault, I think, but it was a bit of a weird goal to concede. So that was that they made it 2-1 to them. And at that point, again, I was thinking to myself, this is just going to go from bad to worse. It's just going to be like they'll score, we score, they score, we score. And it was a bit like that in the end. Eze again on 27 minutes managed to get another goal to make it 2-2, which at that point I was kind of thinking, is this how it's going to end up? Because after that there was quite a long period of time when we had, I think for the most part we had good possession. But we were kind of giving the ball away a bit too often at times as well. I know Sheffield United were working hard to try and close us down quickly and try and stop our play, but with Eze and Elise in the team, we were playing some really good fluid football around them. So I was really pleased that was happening. We had Richards at right back, which didn't necessarily work very well, but I think it was something perhaps they had to put him in there at that time. He's not a natural right back, so again he's playing out of position. But I think he didn't do too badly, considering where he was playing. So at 2-2, I was kind of thinking that it was going to stay that way, and it certainly did for the first half. And then second half, I felt that hopefully we would pick up where we left off, and we did for the most part. We didn't do. It wasn't a bad game in terms of how we played. It was just a bad game in terms of defensively. We just looked really weak, and when you consider that we had a really strong defensive lineup at one point, Gehi and Anderson at the back were towers, but they seemed to be a little bit on edge, and I can imagine, after such a long spell without winning, you're going to get a little bit edgy, you're going to get a little bit worried, which they seem to be edgy, they seem to be nervous at the back. and you know, that's understandable. But anyway, that's what it seemed to be for me anyway. So that's how it kind of continued at 2-2. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, maybe it's going to stay 2-2. I don't want it to be 2-2 because we are playing well, but maybe that's how it's going to pan out. But Elise, who had got a couple of assists before that, had a wonderful little strike, strike or a first time hit to hit in the bottom corner of the net. That was on 67 minutes to make it 3-2 to us. And then at that point, things started to hit the fan a little bit because we then had a problem with Elise. He went down just after that goal, and he had to be replaced, and Schlupp came on for him. Bit disappointed. Probably would have liked to have had França come on, but I don't think França's going to get a game under Roy. I really don't. I can't see it happening. Not a regular time. You know, he had opportunities with Eze and Elise, didn't use them. Although the Eze substitution was a good one, but I'll get into that in a minute. So Elise went off, and I was thinking, looks a bit odd. You know, he looks. You know, he pulled up and was asking for the transfer, asking for the substitution. So it was a little bit of a worry on that situation. And then a little bit later on, Eze also went down, and that was another worry for me because obviously that's our two best players gone off in odd circumstances in terms of potential injuries. And on for Eze came David Ozo, who I think had a really good game. Started off a little bit uncertain, but as the rest of the game came on, he was getting in the tackles, he was pumping up the fans, trying to edge them on and things like that, trying to get the team riled up. It was a good performance for him. You know, 18 years old, and it was a good performance. And he's such a strong built player that, you know, he was able to survive, you know, the pushing, the shoving and the tackles. He was able to get his tackles in really well. So really good performance from him. I think he's got to be one of the regulars on the team sheet, certainly. And that's kind of how it finished. It ended up being 3-2 to us, which was a good result, so needed. But then after Eze and Elise went off, we kind of crumbled, and we were getting very defensive again. We were sitting back. The final 10 minutes was a lot of Sheffield United possession. They hit the woodwork with a header. They also had to pull off Henderson to pull off a couple of saves as well towards the end. So it wasn't a good game for us, I don't think. You know, when you consider where Sheffield United are, although they put a lot of effort into the game and they worked hard and they were good for their 2 goals, but you know, from our point of view, we were not as good as we should have been, and it's very, very difficult to see how that's going to improve if we go without Eze and Elise again, because they were clearly 2 of our best players on the pitch in that game. It was very, very difficult to see how we're going to be without them. Now obviously we've got Adam Wharton and Munoz to come in, but well, I mean, with those 2, Munoz at right back is going to be should hopefully solidify our defence a bit more as well, and Adam Wharton in the middle I think will be good. You know, the players that are on the pitch worked really hard. Mateta really put in a shift again, really, really worked hard, tried to hold up the ball, tried to bring players in. Jordan Ayew, I forgot his name there. Jordan Ayew, he also put a shift in. He was working really hard. There was a lot of working hard going on. I mean, you know, Hughes, not necessarily the best player, but he worked really hard and he was getting the tackles in and he was trying to get involved and stop things from happening. It's just one of those situations where we're not clicking very well, you know, and when teams come at us, we're getting very nervous. And I'm sure if we can get a couple more wins under our belts, that will go. But we just seem really nervous when players or when teams attack us, which is understandable because we've not been very good. Hopefully, though, these 2 players coming in will bolster us a little bit, and we'll get a bit more confidence at the back and in the midfield, certainly. So it's good news that we got the win. The style of the win, when Eze and Elise were there, was really good. We were playing really well. When they went out, things looked really bad for us in terms of how we were playing. So it was a tough game for us. Make no mistake about it. And it's certainly not something that you can take a lot of confidence from. But it's a win. It's 3 points, and we have to remember that. And we've got some tough games coming up, as I said. So we have to make sure that we get these two players in as soon as we can, and hopefully against Brighton we'll have both of them in the team, and then we'll be able to go from there. In terms of the injury situation, Roy Hodgson said that it was more of a precaution for Elise. Eze he's not too sure about, because he said that he felt his hamstring pull when he was on one of his runs. So it's a bit of a worry again. Hopefully it's just a slight twinge and it doesn't stop him from playing against Brighton, because that would be a serious problem for us. But we'll have to wait and see. Keep those fingers crossed, Palace fans. Keep those fingers crossed that at least one of them will be able to play against Brighton. I'm really hoping that both can, because it will be a completely different game if both of them can play. And well, that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts on the game down in the comments as always, and don't forget to subscribe for more Crystal Palace news, and I'll see you next time.